Hi everyone, my name is Hannah. I am a tour guide with Bites of Boston. I give tours in the South End neighborhood. I am also a grad student at Boston University studying food studies, particularly the history and culture of food. And I have an ice cream concept called A Sweet History where I make ice cream flavors inspired by history and art and things like that. Today I'm going to share with you my favorite tour story from the South End, so enjoy. So to really understand the South End's history and how it came to be what it is today, and really to know how Boston came to be what it is today, we go back pretty far in history. So right now I have a map of Boston, what it looked like in the 1630s. So as you can see, during this time, Boston was a peninsula city. So that means it was surrounded on three sides by water and only connected to the mainland by a very narrow strip of land known as the Boston Neck. So the Boston Neck is what controlled all foot traffic in and out of Boston. So that's what this red arrow is pointing to right here. It was only really wide enough to accommodate Washington Street, the blue line running right up down the city. That's the same Washington Street we have today still. Can walk it on the South End tour. So everybody in the early days of Boston's history was comfortably situated up here in the Beacon Hill neighborhood. Still one of the most popular neighborhoods in Boston today, but as more and more immigrants were coming into the city, the area started to run out of space. So the city started to look for other areas that they could grow residential development, but they knew that they wanted to keep that space within Boston city limits because they wanted to maintain those tax dollars and votes. That was very important. So they started to look at the area south of the neck down here as that potential residential space. But they realized that if they were going to actually have people come down here and want to settle, they were going to have to deal with the problem of the Boston Neck. It did a lot more to separate these two areas rather than connect them. So what they did was one of the most interesting things in Boston's early development. The city decided to start hauling in load after load after load of sand and gravel from neighboring areas like Needham, Massachusetts, and just dumping it straight into the tidal marsh. So this definitely would not happen today. We think of our wetlands a lot differently. It would be illegal, but it's a good thing that it happened when it did because it not only created the South End, but completely changed Boston as we know it. So on this other side, you can see maybe a more familiar view. This is what Boston looks like now. We have the older map, the orange one, superimposed onto a modern day map of Boston. You can see the red arrow is no longer pointing to a narrow strip of land, but just rather the South End with Washington Street still running through it. The landfill project, as it was called, happened in two different stages for about 200 years. So you have this beige part that happened first and then the blue part. So while we're on the tour, I like to make the distinction that we are in the South End, not South Boston or Southie, which is another neighborhood in Boston that has a very similar name to the South End, but those are two very different neighborhoods. So South Boston gets its name from being originally south of the downtown area, while the South End gets its name from being originally south of the Neck. And so as we go on the tour, you see that the South End has a much more diverse immigrant history than Southie, which has that really rich Irish immigrant history. I really love this story because people who even live in Boston who come on our tours are often shocked to know that Boston went through this transformation. And as we go on in the tour, you get to hear more about how the landfill project really shook things up and changed things around. So it's a really fun story. But with that, I hope everyone is staying healthy. I hope to see you on tours in the near future, and take care.